Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by Mike Rizkalla. He is the founder of Snorble. Snorble is an intelligent and engaging customizable character for kids. Mike's journey is to define human experiences with robotics to enrich the lives of humans through magical tech experiences. So we're going to be talking to him about Snorble, how we got into it, what it does, and everything robotics. Mike, thank you so much for joining me today.
Curtis, it's my pleasure. I'm super thankful that you picked me for this conversation. So thank you.
Well, why don't you start off by just giving everybody a little bit of background about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So I have a computer electrical engineering background, but most of my career has been in motion graphics and UX design for digital products and television. Now, I've had the good fortune of being surrounded by these incredible people in my career and been part of these incredible companies that have changed the way that we've used technology around the world. And I did that a few times before I was 30. Now, fortunately, I also was able to start my own product house. And about 7 years ago, I started to get a little bit antsy, as you would. I've been doing it for 13 years. I had a wonderful group of people I was working with for a very, very long time. About 7 years ago, I decided that I wanted to look at what the real opportunity was. And, similar to what we would do for other people, we started to look at the global landscape of what was happening in technology, looking at what was happening in all the technical labs all around the world. And we started to see all these technologies converge. And they were all converging in a way that showed a new opportunity. And what the opportunity was to define the human interaction experience for robotics. So I set out on a journey 7 years ago, built out a robotics lab to the fear of my entire team. Right? As you can imagine, they're like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? Right? We're successful. We don't need to do this. And they were right. We didn't need to do it, but I needed to do it. I felt like there was another path. And once we started down that path, there's nothing else I wanted to do. I was so focused on this, and everything I did kind of revolved around it. And, we went through our ups and downs just like every other company has done, every other entrepreneur has done. I've been through my ups and downs. But the one thing that stayed true was passion. And that's what I followed through. And essentially, Snorble is the first offshoot product to be released as part of that journey.
Why do you feel like it's important to enrich the lives of humans through the interaction with robotics?
Yeah, you know what it is? It's about every single new opportunity to leverage the tools that we have to create experiences that actually better our lives. And now the tools back in the olden days were like, rocks and sticks. And then we advanced and we advanced and we advanced. And then we had, the Industrial Revolution, right? Where all of a sudden manufacturing and the process of creation around product had changed again, right? And then we went through what I would call the computer age, which some people refer to as the next industrial revolution. And what I believe is going to happen is that robots are going to be the next step towards kind of making people's lives better. So for the way I see it is that when you have an opportunity to communicate with things that you don't necessarily have to type, or you don't necessarily have to, go to something and then touch, right? Touch screens or those types of things. And by leveraging the tools around artificial intelligence for voice, vision, but even more importantly, sentiment, intent, all these other different aspects, what happens is that it gives us an entirely new interface and an entirely new way to engage with the things that we all have around us that'll make it easier. So, a basic example of that would be imagine the day when an older person doesn't have to pick up something heavy, or they don't have to bring their groceries in from the car. those are just like future vision examples, obviously not tomorrow, right? But that's where we're going. And, what we saw in our opportunity was about inspiration. And truthfully, when you think about young kids, and when you think about the opportunity to engage children, the aspect of inspiration and to invoke imagination is a very powerful item, a powerful thing that we can leverage to help them, right? So for us, where we started with inspiring young children's minds. And for me, the biggest win and the biggest opportunity is to basically make the thing that we all wanted from the movies. So I don't know if you were like this, but I was a big sci-fi kid, and I'm a Star Wars fan. I know that's more mainstream sci-fi, but I still love it. Loved the games when I was a kid. Loved all of it, right? And if I could have had my own version of R2D2 and C3PO, you better believe I would have bought it at any any price as an adult, right? So what we wanted to do is we wanted to bring a little animated character to life to really connect with kids. And through that opportunity and through engagement and through inspiration and through imagination, actually give them things that would actually help them have a better life through healthier habits, establishing good routines, things that most of us struggle with even to this day.
What is it like being a person of color leading the way in creating new technology?
Oh, I love that question. So I will tell you, there are challenges, and where sometimes we have opportunity, we are also disregarded. I will tell you that my nature and the history of what I've been able to do in the course of my life stems from one aspect. When someone closes a door, I kick down the door next to them. And that is an important fact that I think a lot of us, people of color, especially in business, have to face, right? So that's just one aspect. I think some of the other aspects too is around trust. We don't typically have, and we haven't historically had, a lot of people that have been able to support us from top down, right? So a lot of us have to lead our own way, bridge our own path, and I'm very, very proud of that. Now, what I try to do, and what I hope that a lot of other leaders in the space try to do, is I try to bring others that are similar to me along for the journey. We try to not omit anybody, and I'm big into that. That's a big part of our culture. If I can change up the narrative a little bit. Family, right? Family to you and family to me means something, right? Specific for each one of us. Our definition of family is different depending on who we are. Is there any wrong formula to family? I don't think so. Right? I think that who your kin is, who belongs to your village is important no matter who you are. And what we try to do at Snorble is we try to make sure that every single family and every single child is impacted. And part of that mission comes from being who I am and having to face the things I have to face. I want to make sure that every single kid that ends up being touched by Snorble understands that they are loved and that they have opportunity.
Well, how did you come up with the concept of pairing AI and robotics with kids' sleep?
Well, it's funny. Okay, so I'll go through kind of the organic part of it, and then we dug in a lot more succinctly. But I've been working on, as I mentioned before, the human interaction experience for robotics. Right? What happened was that we started to look at the ways in which we could engage, and we were looking at how we would engage with not just one person but many people, and we were using different elements of interface and gaming and all these other things. Now, take a step back. I'm a dad of two young kids, and my son, God love him, he just came up here and interrupted our session. God love him. He's a sweetheart. He's a wonderful kid, but at bedtime he is a terror. And one night, when he wakes me up, like I can't sleep. So one night he woke me up At 3 o'clock in the morning, we did the shimmy shammy, race back and forth to the bedroom. And after I finally got him to sleep again, it was about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I couldn't get back to sleep. My mind was racing. I was thinking about this, that, or the other thing, like most of us would. And I started to look up online and looking for products that actually helped holistically, with sleep. And all I found were drugs, chemicals, right? Or things that were like, oh, this is a nightlight, or this is a sound machine, or this is or this is like a clock. There were all these different things, but they were all very one-dimensional in nature. They didn't solve for a holistic solution, around solving this issue. But more importantly, none of them put the child at the center. And even more importantly, none of them put play at the center, which is fundamental. It's fundamental in order to kind of help kids come along in the journey to gaining those essential skills, right? So after looking at all those things, I did a search. And when I did that first search, looking for items, there was like 190 million page results. Right. So the entrepreneur side of me kind of went, that's interesting. Oh, look, there are no products available. So I need to dig into this a little bit more. So I had my analysts do kind of a bit more a review. And then we started to see, fortunately, we started to see that it was not just a superficial problem. The problem itself was much bigger. Can I give you a statistic that kind of rocked me, if that's okay?
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
Okay. Did you know that they planned the prison system capacity based off the developmental delays of grade 3 children?
It would not surprise me.
Yeah. That, my friend, is a horrible statistic, right? And here's the other aspect of that. I'm not saying sleep is 100% tied to that. But there are many aspects of development that are tied to sleep. And further, Snorble is not just about sleep. Snorble is about establishing healthy habits and inspiring imaginations. And guess what? Those things together do directly impact that statistic, right? So from my perspective, it changed from being a product to it being a mission. And it changed from being like an offering, right, to it being movement. And that's a very different aspect of what we're building at Snorble. And if you talk to any of my team members, they'll tell you the same thing. They have all drank the Kool-Aid, because what we're doing is we're going to change the lives of families and change the lives of children by putting them at the center of the experience and giving them all the tools necessary for them to succeed. Another point I want to make, and I think this is also important. Snorble is not like it's a little buddy. It's a little buddy, right? But in essence, another thing that's really important, and hopefully you'll agree with me on this, we're all sick of products and companies telling us that we don't know how to raise our children. Would you agree with that?
I would definitely agree with that.
Yes, right? We all have different things about how we raise our children. Some of it's cultural, right? Some of it's just, some of it's spiritual. Some of it's based off of dietary habits, based off of our view of the world, right? And also, most importantly, it's based on what our child needs, because nobody knows our children better than their parents, right? So the way that we've kind of set up Snorble is essentially a tool that's used by parents. It's something that empowers parents to kind of establish the healthy habits that they believe are most important. Now, we give them access to the best science by the world's leaders. We basically accumulate it all in a place. You're not searching for what best practices are and trying to find this and trying to find that. We amalgamate it all together and give you guys essentially different perspectives on what's important, right? Around every single topic you can imagine, from brushing the child's teeth. When do you introduce dental floss? Do you introduce dental floss? Some people say yes, some people say no. So everything, right? And we put it all inside our basically our subject matter expert area. And then we allow the parents to review and peruse and access all this wonderful content at their leisure. And then they are in complete control of how they establish and what routines they establish with Snorble, right? So a couple other things that are important to note. We are also focused on when we talk about sleep, everyone thinks about the power hour, like that hour between 7 and 8. But that's not actually the bedtime routine. The bedtime routine starts much earlier. And truthfully, a couple of the things that we have included are meditation, yoga, things that I wish I had learned and I wish I was taking advantage of now, which I'm not, and I wish I was. But these are all things that if we can help kids establish these things early, well, sure, they'll take it with them their whole lives. And that's the benefit of what we're doing. We actually refer to it as the magical bedtime experience, and when we talk about the product, and that's really what it is. It's this magical experience that's shared by parents and children to better the lives of the children.
So let's say I purchase Snorble. It comes in the mail. I take it out of the box, tell me what to expect, the dimensions, the height, the weight, and what all can I do with it when I get it?
Yes. So it's not heavy, right? It's the perfect size of a teddy bear. And it comes with this, what we call the Lullapad, which essentially is a base that it sits in, and it's its charging station. Snorble lasts all day long, right? You can use it all day long. And the most important thing to note is it's completely secure. The reason why it's completely secure is it is not processed in the cloud. It's working completely on device. You can take Snorble in your car. You can take Snorble to the park. You can take Snorble anywhere. Now, it's made of this edible grade silicone. So basically, it's super safe for kids, but it's also very soft. And then we also sell as well these little outfits that change the personality of the Snorble. So when you put them on, the character actually changes. That's part of our persona technology that we put together. And that's there as well, too, because kids love fuzzy things. So you get the fuzzy thing that you can throw in the wash, right? It comes on and off. You get the silicone that's super, super easy to clean because as much as I love our children, they are gross. Right? Like the amount of fluids was a big shocker for me after I had kids. I was like, oh my God, how much fluid is coming out of this child? This is unbelievable. So this is a way for us to kind of keep all those things clean and hygienic, but still give all the types of experience that a child would want and that a parent would want for their kids.
So this is a two-part question. The first part is, how did you come up with the name Snorble? And second part is, how people say technology is not safe for kids.
Yes.
How safe is Snorble for kids?
Okay, so let me start off with the name. Snorble comes from snore and adorable. Snorble. so that was a big moment for us. But we love it because it's just cute and it's fun, right? And in terms of the safety, we are not doing anything at standard. We are doing everything above standard. The only thing I care about are the families that are part of our ecosystem and the kids, most importantly, that are part of our ecosystem. We want to make sure that we only do good by them. So from a physical perspective, it is safe. We're not doing anything below standard. We're not doing anything at standard. We do everything above, well above standards in terms of safety and review, right? In terms of product, let me ask you this question. One thing that we all face, and maybe you're different than me, but I feel guilt when my child picks up a tablet. Do you?
Especially if they're on it a lot.
Yeah. Like, you can give them 20 minutes here, that type of thing. And most parents do. The parents that don't are my heroes. I'm super impressed with those, but we struggle with that. Like, we absolutely struggle with that. It's a challenge, right? And the problem with the tablets, truthfully, is a couple things. One, they're set up to become addictive. We all know that, right? Two, there's a light that emits from those screens that stimulates the mind in a not so great way, right? Three, our children are looking down instead of looking outward at the world, right? What Snorble does is it solves for all that. We built a proprietary screen that doesn't emit those lights. It's basically our own way of creating projection using old school techniques in order to bypass all the negative aspects of having a screen. That's one. Two, the child's not looking down. They're looking outward into the world. And the experience that they have, you share with them. It's not supposed to be solo. This is about all the family being participants as part of the journey that is Snorble. So that's the second part. The third part is everything that comes from Snorble is good. It's good because it's made for my family, the same way that it's made for your family, the same way it's made for every single team member that I have's family. We are not making this just trying to make money. We're making this because we believe that we can have a positive impact on children's lives everywhere.
So Snorble also has an app, mobile app.
Yes.
Tell us about that mobile app and everything that you can do with it.
Yes. So the mobile app is, I was just looking at new designs for it too, which I'm very excited about. So the mobile app, actually the way that it works is that it's essentially like the parents command center. And what it does is you're basically able to add in your family structure in part, so that way Snorble actually knows everyone that supports your child, everyone that's in the child's village, right? Now, with that said, we give the world's best content in terms of expertise around bedtime routines, around things related to development for the child, like everything from potty time to brushing their teeth, et cetera, all those different things that we all have to struggle with. And we also tie it back to the age of the child, and then also their specific development. It's contextual to the development of your child. So as your child advances, new content's given to you that helps you navigate new things that come up and things that you need to know about as your child kind of progresses through their early years. That's one aspect. The second aspect is you create your own routines. You decide as a parent what's important for your child and your family. And through those activities, essentially what happens is that Snorble creates these wonderful little games where we celebrate the child's growth, we celebrate the child's development, and encourage them through gamification, music, and wonderful, wonderful stories in order to take them through the journey of going from something at the very beginning when they're learning it to becoming a master at it. And the essence of what it will do is help your child develop faster. So the app, and in essence, acts as the command center for the parent. It also acts as a wonderful way to capture moments and to share those moments with all the loved ones that are in that child's village. And lastly, and kind of more of a story aspect of it, as we kind of garner information around your family and you share with us, what happens is that the stories start to incorporate your family within them. It becomes a dynamic storytelling system that everyone gets to experience because they are also in the stories.
So if you bought, let's say I have 2 kids, so do I have to buy 2 Snorbles, or can we set up profiles because one's a boy, one's a girl, and one's 5 years old and one's about to be 9? So can we set up profiles for different kids, or do we have to buy one for each kid?
No, that's a wonderful question, Curtis. And I'll tell you, the truth is that I'd love to be able to set it up for both kids. But right now, at the very beginning, it's going to be one child, one Snorble. And I'll give you kind of a couple reasons why. Firstly, around story. Snorble comes for the land of Lullaboo. I don't know if, I basically live in Lullaboo every day. That's this beautiful background that sits behind me on all my Zoom calls. And what Lullaboo is the place where all kids' dreams exist and where all kids' dreams live. And Snorble is the keeper of kids' dreams. So every time a child is born, a Snorble is born. And a Snorble basically shepherds all the dreams of children in the land of Lullaboo. So because of that story, we have one owner, which is one owner for the Snorble, and one child. So essentially one child to one Snorble. Sorry, forgive me for that. But the second part of it is, and I just want to call this out, everyone enjoys Snorble. It doesn't have to be about the full development of the 9-year-old, for example, because a lot of the stuff that we're targeting at the very beginning is around sleep. So the person that's probably going to benefit the most, maybe, would probably be your daughter, I would imagine. Is that right?
Yes, because she has a hard time sleeping and staying asleep.
Yeah. So this is kind of like made for her. But that being said, we had a lot of people actually buy 2 Snorbles, which we weren't expecting, because when one kid has one, you have to get a second one. So a couple things that we're doing right now is we're making sure that if the Snorbles are networked together, like if they're inside the home together, they know, and that the experience is more seamless, and we're not going to get in a situation where, where they're talking over each other or any of that type of stuff.
Let's talk about app accessibility. As I
Yes,
told you when we were in the green room, I am blind. I have a lot of blind friends that might be interested in something like this.
mm-hmm.
Do you know if your mobile app is accessible or the product is accessible for the blind?
It will be. And I'll tell you another reason why. My daughter also has hearing loss one ear. She wears a hearing aid. And I'm very, very cognizant of super children and super parents like yourself. So the goal for me, my perspective, is to make sure that we are completely inclusive. Now, a couple things that we've taken note of is, as well as kids with disabilities, kids with super abilities, as I'd like to say it better. One of the things that we're really cognizant of is how do we support those families? And we're not making Snorble generic. Like Snorble is very specific, but out of the gates, we're going to launch with lightweight tools, lightweight support. But as we kind of go, we learn more about the needs of our families. We'll be adapting and creating better experiences over time that will continue to support needs for families like yourself.
So I'm sure creating this product, you had to get multiple people together in multiple fields with multiple expertise. How did you manage to get all that together and make this work?
I love that question. So here's my secret sauce. I have basically a world-class team. I have an undeniably brilliant group of people that have surrounded us in our mission. So how was I able to do that on, the initial prototype, limited funds, all those types of things? And it's very simple. People get inspired by a mission, by vision and a mission. And if they feel like they're part of something where not only their impact is related to their own personal success, but also their impact outward in the world, it's a much easier conversation for them to be involved. That's the first thing. The second thing is I make sure that every promise that I make to my team, I keep. And my expectation is the same for them. Because what is most important about bringing on board a group of people like that is to build a culture. And if you build a culture where everyone's voice is heard, everybody has impact. And even more so, they're rewarded. They're rewarded for the success that they're bringing to the company because they are the company. That's the thing that a lot of leaders, I should say a lot of leaders, that's the thing that a lot of business owners forget, which is why there's so much failure. Because once people are misaligned and, it becomes more about the individual and less about the mission, well, that's when things start to fail. So my goal, and one of the things that I'm very, very adamant about, is keeping people focused on a mission, making sure that they understand that their voice is heard, and also that their impact will lead to something very special for the people that they're touching, whether it be through the product or whether the people that they touch internally. So like even the other team members, or even, of course, and important to most people, is themselves. so there is a goal, obviously, for the business, right? And that's honestly how we do it.
Do you and your team have any, besides Snorble, upcoming products that you're working on or upcoming projects that anybody needs to know about?
No, my whole team is completely focused on Snorble. And the reason why is once you start in, there's nothing else that you want to do. It's the best group of people. Every week, I can't wait to get to my meetings. How many people can say that? And it's not just me. Curtis, can I actually digress a little bit? I want to tell you another little narrative moment that was actually very powerful for me.
Go right ahead.
Okay. I used to say to my team, we can make magic. And something that's been happening recently is they've been saying it back to me. And it's not prompted. It's their belief that now when they're starting to see all these elements come together in kind of this new way, that we actually can create magic and we can have impact for families. So that's the power of using culture, right? Aligning people along a vision. Eventually, what it does, if you do it right, and you have people of caliber that can actually execute, you create a bit of a movement. And that's what I think is actually happening at Snorble.
Well, tell people how they can purchase the product, throw out the contact information, the social media, so that way we can keep up with Snorble.
Thank you. So you can get the product at www.snorble.com, and Snorble is spelled Snorble. So Snorble. And you can purchase it there. We are also going to be giving opportunity for kind of payment plans coming up soon. So that's going to be a new feature that we're going to add to the site. And then the last thing that we're also doing is we're going to allow people to reserve their place in line. We actually sold or pre-sold 1,000 units on Indiegogo in 20 days, which is our first batch. Our second batch is going to be available soon. We're going to be launching our second batch soon for people to be able to purchase as well.
So before we get your final thoughts and before we go, tell us about the rumor that you were a popular guitarist in a popular Canadian punk band. Tell us about that.
I used to play in a band called Bucket Truck out of the East Coast of Canada. I was with the same group of guys for 11 years. Same group, right? And we did everything against the grain. We did everything by ourselves. We built our own video production company because we wanted to tell our story in our own way. We turned down major label deals from U.S. Record labels in order to kind of pursue our vision the way that we saw it. We fired our agents before. We've done all kinds of crazy things that were totally against developing a band in the right way, I guess. But I was super proud of what we did because, truthfully, as we started to kind of grow up, we grew up together. And our music became very much politically infused. We were really focused on positivity. We were really focused on talking about messages that were things that we cared about or things that we thought were wrong in the world. And it created a wonderful connection with a lot of wonderful people that still to this day are either friends or people I like to talk to and, care about what we did like years, like over a decade ago. So I was very fortunate to be part of that. And a lot of the things I take in business are from that band,
So where can we find the music at?
I don't even know anymore. Right? It's terrible. I think it's on iTunes. It could be on iTunes. I know that we're on YouTube. We have about 20 music videos on YouTube, but it's really hardcore. So if you're not into that genre, you probably won't like it. Used to have dreadlocks down to my knees, the whole bit.
Yeah, mine are about down to my butt right now. My dreadlocks.
Oh, very cool. Very
cool. Got any final thoughts before we close it out?
Curtis, I think this podcast concept is genius. I love it. And I'm just really thankful that you included me in the conversation.
Well, you ever thought about starting your own and kind of talking about, spreading your knowledge and doing what you do?
Yeah, I know it probably doesn't come off this way. I'm a bit more of an introvert outside when I'm forced to come out of my shell. So for me, it's like if I have those fleeting moments to kind of do something, I'm usually with my kids. Outside of that, I'm working essentially with my team pretty much the whole time. So maybe later, maybe later on at another time. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Well, for now, you just keep making magic at snorble.com and keep making those snorbles. And I'd like to let the listeners know to follow, rate, review, and share to as many people, especially parents and families, as possible. After listening to this episode, Android listeners, go to the Google Play Store and download the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast app. Mike Rizkalla, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Curtis.
For more information on the Living the Dream podcast, visit www.djcurveball.com. Until next time, stay focused on living the dream.